Hi everyone, it's Sarah. I'm here to share how to make this little tag using the Herbs and Delights stamps, and I thought it was useful as a bit of a screenshot at the front of the video to show you what you need. So we're going to be playing with Dinkles, some of my favourite things to do, and the mystical sprays, which then give a bit of that shimmer. It's such a fine glitter in these sprays, I just love it. So there we go. Right, so this tag's made from the end of a little A6 card. So when you cut one of these into a square, which I do a lot, I like working with squares, then you get this shape left and it works really nicely as a tag. So that's what we're going to be using. I'm going to grab a second piece the same size as that tag bit. It's about nearly 4.5 centimetres that way, and then the A6 size down. But because it's a tag, you can just do any size you like. It's really great for offcuts, this technique. Now, what I did was I got green on my stencil and effectively used it as a stamp. So I'm printing with a green stencil. So that's why I've got a second piece, because what I'm going to do is use the kind of waste of doing that. Depending on which way you look at it, could be creating a new one. So I've got green on there, so that bit should get some green on. And then that bit there is what I want to stamp with on this piece. I'm going to set that aside. I'll be able to use that for something else another time. Let's pop that down there. I'm going to press it down with my very squidged, because it must have been cheap. They make them bigger, don't they, these kitchen roll tubes? So it looks like they've got more kitchen roll on. So I don't know whether you can see that. That's the printing with the stencil that I've got green. Another way you can do it is by spritzing the stencil with one of the coloured sprays. But this time I'm using the Dinkles. I'm going to add some yellow through there. Like that. And going to spritz that with water. But also I'm going to add some areas with the Golden Temple spray. Let's give that a bit of a spritz. And then because I had a wet stencil that I stamped with, and then I've got a lot of moisture on there now, I'm just going to dab it a bit with my kitchen roll, take off some of that moisture, just so it doesn't run too much. I quite like it when it runs into each other, but I don't want it to be excessive. So let me move that so you can see it. There we go. And so we need to dry that. My heat gun is packed somewhere, so I'm going to pause the video and come back to you. So now this is dry, we can start to build up our image. So we're going to pop a little bit of ground for our herb garden to be based, and pick up the green. Now I used olive for this one, but you use whatever greens you've got. And I'm just going to use my stencil brush to add a bit of a green bit of ground. Let's put this post sign. It's in the sign on. Okay, so I've got my herb garden stamp, and I'm going to stamp that with, I might use the brown actually. I might use fern cone, because that's kind of post coloured, isn't it? Mix it up a bit. Okay, so pop kind of got it in the middle, ish. Again, you could have it coming off the edge if you wanted. So there we go, there's the herb garden sign. I'm going to stamp it again onto my piece of paper because I don't want to be able to see these lines on my sign. So I'm going to colour this in. So to colour it in, I'm going to use truffle. And I think I'm just going to pop a little bit on my block. A little smidge. Add a bit of water. I tend to use my spray bottle just because it's there. And basically you just make yourself some paintable ink. I could also have just used a stencil brush to add the colour. You could add it with your pencil crayons. There's various ways. I'm going to use what I've got on there. I'm going to just colour in that post. Add a bit of brown to it. There we go. Swipe it off. That just needs to dry a sec. While it's drying, we can add some more stamping. So it's the sage that's in the middle, sorry, at the forefront, and then I've got thyme growing behind. Again, mixing up the herbs would make for a different tag, make for a bit of variety. So we're going to add a bit of sage there. And the other little tiny piece, we'll have that coming off to the side. Just like that. And we're going to ink that one up with Shady Lane, which I think I forgot to put on my list. Make sure it's on the details. And I love how long this is. It's a nice long plant compared to the other ones, so you can add it in the real foreground. You know, it's coming off the tag. And then if I get my torn paper out again, ish. Going to make it look like the sun is coming up behind there, like that. And then the other thing I've done to ground those is to grab a fine black pen. I'm just going to add some dots around. Gosh, this is a particularly fine one. Add some dots around the base of those plants so it just grounds them a little more. Pop some up the hill, up the slight rise that we've got there. Then all we need to do is cut out the sign, which I almost lost. So I'm just going to cut out the herb garden bit. We don't need to cut any more out because this is the bit that we've coloured in, and we want to make it stand out a little. And then we'll add some text and a little robin. And we're pretty much done. Grab some glue. There we go. Now we need our little robin. They're so handy, these little small birds, aren't they? They sit around and watch us as we garden. They're a great little stamp to add a little, I don't know what we're adding to it, but I like it, adding a bit of cuteness. Now the thyme stamp, I'm going to use it in the background just to add a bit of text, but I'm also just using a tiny bit of it to just put the name. That's there. You'll see, hopefully, when I stamp it. And they're really nicely spaced, these. I only need the ink at the top, but I don't have to mask anything off here because there's enough space for that to just line up at the bottom. Stamp it on, and it's so tiny, this text. If you've seen any other my other videos where it's got tiny text on, you'll know I love it. So let's take that black off because we're not going to be using black. We'll be back with Shady Lane. Just to add some texture to the background. And you can have it as dark or as light as you like, really. There we go. Grab the stencil brush and olive. Just going to go around the edges. Don't need so much there because we've already added some for the ground. That just brings it all together. You can add another little slight spritz. I'm kind of holding it almost by my shoulder because I only want the fine droplets, and dab those off. Use a hole punch. I've used the narrow ones, a set of 3. I think they're a different colour handle at the moment, but there's a set of 3 of these. I'm just eyeballing it to find the middle. And I'm going to put some thread through. So these come in a packet. At the last extravaganza, Mandy and I were. She wound hers all individually because that's the way she works, and I wound mine in kind of, I think I did 2 lots so that I can look at that and go, okay, I'm going to combine. I'll have these 3 on this bit of tag. I might just use 2. I feel like I'm rebelling these days. They always say put things in 3s, don't they? But sometimes I like to just rebel and just have 2. Because you can make that work visually as well. So pop that through there. And you've got your little tag. So nice, quick and easy little projects. Hope you enjoyed that. Let me know if you make some. I'd love to see them. Thanks for joining me.